Welcome to Equal Entertainment. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The Trolls are getting the band back together for a new song and dance. The carpet was purple and the hair was colorful for the LA premiere of Trolls Band Together. Not only are the actors from the Troll movie back together for this one, but so are the members of the iconic 90s boy band NSYNC. Justin, Lance, Joey, Chris, and JC all walking the purple carpet for the premiere. Timberlake returns for the third time in his role as Branch, and Anna Kendrick is back as Poppy. The actors say they're thrilled to see everyone after a long and difficult actors' strike.
It's fun, it's colorful, it's the characters we all love. I can't wait to see it. I mean, these are movies my kids love, so something you can see with the whole family.
Thank God. Like it ended at the perfect time. I knew it. I had a surprise week planned with my wife last week, and I was like, oh my God, this strike has to end. I hope they figure this out. It ended. We're here. Thank goodness. It's awesome.
When there was a strike, and I didn't think this would happen, I was talking with Eric Andre and some other people like Wendy McClendon, who are like genuine friends of mine that I'm so happy that are in this movie. And I was like, oh, I'm so hopeful we get to do a premiere, so I have to be here, and I'm so blessed to be here tonight.
It honestly feels weird being back on a carpet. It's been a minute. The strike has been going on for a very long time, but I'm happy that we get the family together. We're celebrating the movie. The kids are going to love it. It's a great day.
This will be the first box office weekend since the actors' strike ended and red carpet events resumed. Industry experts will be watching to see if the stars can give their movies a financial boost. Queer Eye design expert Bobby Burke is leaving the Fab Five after the upcoming 8th season. Burke is thanking the Queer Eye community for 6 years of overwhelming love. In a touching message on X, he acknowledges design's transformative power and the kindness he's received from fans. This 8th season in New Orleans will be Burke's final season, but he promises the journey continues with future projects. The season drops on January 24th. Netflix has renewed the show for a 9th season in Las Vegas. Jimmy Kimmel is returning to host the Academy Awards for the 4th time. Kimmel is also bringing his wife, Molly McNearney, with him. McNearney will serve as an executive producer for the 2nd year in a row. Kimmel has hosted the show in 2017, 2018, and earlier this year in 2023. The Oscars will be given out on March 10th. Little-known civil rights icon Bayard Rustin's life is being told in a new Netflix film. Actor Colman Domingo plays Bayard Rustin, who was the architect of the 1963 March on Washington. He was also a gay man. His work helped lead to the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, Domingo is hoping this movie will honor Rustin's legacy.
It's so good to see you. I want to say first, congratulations on Rustin, congratulations on the end of the strike, and because it's the big event, congratulations on the Out 100.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I can't be there tonight. I was like, but I'm with you right here, which is good.
I love it. And we're with you in spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, first, I want to ask you a bit about how this film, it's such an incredible film, so powerful, and you're amazing in it. Would you talk a bit about how the film really leans into these intersections of Bayard Rustin's identity as a Black gay man and how that affected the ways sometimes he was viewed outside and within the movement?
Well, there's a beautiful moment in our film where Bayard lays out clearly. He says, on the day that I was born Black, I was also born homosexual. Mm-hmm. He's announcing to his friend, Martin Luther King, he's saying that you cannot separate those two things. A lot of people are like, oh, are you? I found, and even in my research, people were like, oh, he was really about this one thing. Oh, no, he was really more focused on gay liberation and gay rights. No, he's focused on civil rights. Perhaps it was both, because I feel like that's all a part of who he was. I remember in some research, someone said, oh, he was not a race man. I was like, but that doesn't make any sense as a Black man in the world. You're a race man because you're Black. Because you're fighting for, and what you're fighting for. That's what my understanding is by living in the skin. And I think maybe that's something I find akin to Bayard Rustin. I feel like I don't like to separate that for myself. And I think what you see, oh, he also says this, what you see, he says something like, what you see I cannot dismiss, or something like that. He said, when I walk into a room, when Colman walks into a room, you see a black man immediately. You may see a queer man, I'm not sure, but I don't want to discount that part either, but I'm also, it's just like, it's not the thing that leads the room either. I think it should be my thoughts, my ideas, who I am as a human being, not who I sleep with, and I'm not walking around, everything is not race to me, although I walk through this world, so it naturally is in many ways. You know what I mean? So it's this really, there is, the intersection of those things is very complex, and I understand it in every single way. It's something that I think a lot of people, we may not even know how to talk about it because it's so intrinsic. It's like, I think it's really the way I navigate my world on any given day is, I'm sure, the way Bayard navigated his world, which was you're constantly met, whether you're walking through spaces as a black man, and the things you have to do or avoid, or pitfalls, or for safety, security, you name it, just to get down the street, is because of your color. And then in certain spaces, if they know that you're a queer person, you have to navigate that as well. And then sometimes even with your own communities, you have to navigate being black and queer. Within a queer community, and also then in a black community, you have to navigate being queer. So it's coming at you from all sides.
It's a lot. Well,
Right.
it's a lot, and the film does such a great job of really balancing all of that. And then, kind of to that end, I think that Bayard Rustin has not gotten, as much credit, or not as many people know of him.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy this film is out. Would you talk a bit about what it means to you at this point, where in this very country, there are craven politicians who are erasing black and queer history? What does it mean to you to be a part of a project that amplifies this incredible figure in black and queer history?
It feels richly defiant in all the right ways, and getting into good trouble, become an angelic troublemaker, by amplifying and centering a film, a major motion picture, on a man who has been marginalized in history, saying his story matters, he matters. That speaks to any of our LGBTQIA plus members saying our stories matter, being in the center of our story matter. We're part of history, you can't deny that, in every single way. So I think by amplifying Bayard Rustin's story in this film, I think maybe we can, maybe, and I love, especially on a platform like Netflix, which is seen in 238 countries, we have an opportunity to go into people's homes and challenge what they may think they know. Here's a figure in history you had no idea. You get to know his mind, his heart, his organizing skills. Yes, and he's gay. You get to know that he has love and need and want like anybody else. But more than anything, he wants the right to just exist fully. So film has the power to change. We can, especially on a platform like Netflix, we go into people's homes privately on their tablets, on their phones, and they can get this information, take in this great story, and make decisions for themselves. And actually, hopefully it opens them up to something they had no idea about. And just as a human being, that's it, more than anything, whether they care about history or not, but you get to see a person in their fullness, and you know that they're probably more like you than unlike.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, that's so beautifully put, Colman. Thank you so much. I have to wrap, but
Thank you,
it's
Tracy.
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Sorry we're not going to see you tonight.
Have fun, please. Hug Wilson Cruz, who's giving me the award. Please hug him for me.
Oh,
and,
I love Wilson.
And
I will.
and whoever I know and love, please tell them thank you so much, and I'm with you there. But I'm out here getting into good trouble promoting Rustin for us.
You can watch Domingo shine as Bayard Rustin on Netflix. You can watch the Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.